Hello ladies and gentlemen, never thought I would be back in this game. Welcome to Crusader Kings II, which this is the first series since the Sogdian saga, where I played as the Sogdian culture, which they lived right over there. But this is not the vanilla map version that we've been seeing for many series. In my past CK2 videos, for those of you that recall my past series, this is the historical immersion project Overhaul. It's an overhaul mod. The historical immersion project, hence the reason why the map looks quite a bit different, even in the winter. Like why the map looks, a bit not as wide, like where you don't get all of Tibet nor all of India. But it's more focused on areas that are more important historically. And also I am starting at the earliest start date, 867 AD, which is something I have a habit of starting that start date on Crusader Kings III. Now, why am I back in this game? Well, for one thing, I know originally I thought about doing a CK3 Prussian series, and then I was reminded a year prior, in the middle of summer of 2020, where my original plan was to do a CK2 HIP playthrough with the Prussians. But couldn't do that because of the close proximity of the then release date of Crusader Kings III, which was September 1st, 2020. Which felt like a lifetime ago now, because I've done plenty of video series on that game, such as Asturias, Bactria, which is a spin-off of Asturias, Sunayadava, Marathi Indian, and Bosnia, of course, with the Bosnians, which I practically outdid the old CK2 Bosnian series. But now, before we get to do this introduction of what Prussians are we exactly, let me tell you people the mods that I am using along with HIP, because back from my experience and also from habits of Crusader Kings III and Imperatorum, the other Paradox Interactive titles that I played and done video series on a couple of times, in which I thought, well, how about we enhance this playthrough a little bit more, and even to the point, let's make it challenging. So ladies and gentlemen, pay close attention. These are the mods that I am using in this series, along with Historical Immersion Project, or HIP, or HIP. Mods are more navigatable rivers, HIP, and more navigatable rivers, which means rivers like the Nile, Euphrates, Tigris, the Po, the Danube, the Sava, even Vistula, Elba, all those rivers navigatable by boat, especially if you're a Norse, where you can raid further inland into Europe and other places. Also, Artifact and Acquisitions Overhaul, which is one of the mods I've been using in the past CK2 series. And also, here's something new for this series, Cultural Cities Remix, where every culture has its own different graphics of their holdings, their castles, their cities, and their temples. They all look different, or somewhat, because just want to add a little bit of variety on cultural themes and whatnot. Dark Ages version 1.2.41, which I'll show you what that is in a few minutes. Also, HIP HIPSWMH cultural bonus, particularly for HIP, because back from my experience from playing Imperatorum, how almost every culture has its own, bonuses and one negative effect of their heritage. So I wanted to add that a bit. But the man who developed the gosh, you've only been awake for about a couple hours now. The man who developed the Great Trade League and the Orders of Chivalry mod, which his name was Maul, which hope you're watching this, because even though we don't do mods anymore because of CK3, but I've come back. I still use your mods. I love them. They helped me well in the past series. So cultural bonuses is, as I said, every culture has its many positives and very few negatives, if any, at all. Which the list is too big, which I could show you some of it a little later. Also, medieval trade routes, which we added more trade routes instead of just the Silk Road, as you can see. I mean, obviously, when you look at the Asian areas, that's where the Silk Road is. But we added more trade routes throughout Europe and Africa. Also, patron deities is another mod. Soulmates, Great Trade League, the Orders of Chivalry, University, Viet Events Reborn, a flavor events mod. Viet stands for Various Immersion Events and Tales, which I used that mod in CK3, and since I, kind of liked it, so I thought, well, let's bring it here in CK2, which was made prior. And finally, LMM, Spouse Empowerment, which means your spouse, if empowered, especially if you're a feudal realm, and we're playing as tribal, which is irrelevant for now, where the spouse acts like another member of the council. You know, like in CK3, you've seen my videos where you have a spouse that can help you out with some things. And of course I'll put the list of mods that I just mentioned on the description on this video, so you people can remember if you ever want to try it out yourself, if you ever get nostalgic on playing this whole game. So now let us go to Prussia. To be exact, our home province. I'm playing as Sambia, the High Chiefdom of Sambians, which is one of the Prussian clans or tribes, as you could see. And that's the reason why I wanted to do the CK2 HIP playthrough for the Prussians in the first place. Because in the vanilla, the original version, Prussia was a High Chiefdom. A united High Chiefdom, which makes little sense to me. But here from almost all the start dates of HIP, the Prussians are separated into multiple clans or tribes, which is what they were historically. They were never a united entity, which is what made them, fell so easily to the conquering Teutonics and Germans, who eventually adopted the Prussian name for the time. So that's where the name Prussia came from. It was from this region. In the Old Prussian language, it was Prussia. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, because this pronunciation is the same in its neighboring culture and language, the Lithuanians. And then Lithuanian is the only closest related culture and language to the Prussians, the Old Prussians. Not the German Prussians, the old originals, the indigenous Prussians. And, of course, hold on, before we even talk about the High Chief. So yes, I'm playing as the Old Prussian Baltic High Chief, and let me show you the game rules, because I mentioned Dark Ages. So this is what makes this mod. As I said, it's supposed to make it a bit more realistic and challenging, since I like to be challenged sometimes, hence the reason why this playthrough. So you got your stability system, which relates to province. Here's the murder system, which is different than just plot to assassinate somebody. Murder as in you, the character, murder another character. So I left everything on default, as you can see. So is the chance to set murder and the discovery of it while committing it. There's also the migration time, which means, like for example, here in the Old Prussian areas, that we are neighbors with the Wendish, or Pomeranians, Polish, and Lithuanians, and across the sea to Norse. Should any of the foreigners ever come to our land, they will start to migrate. So this is cultural assimilation through migration is another way. There's also debates, which means at any given time, or at least at your own choosing, that you will have a debate, a political debate with your council members of whatever topic that's related. And whoever wins the debate will get to have a favor earned. You earned a favor. Should you lose, well, you pay these guys a favor. And also could end in a draw and would gain neither. Also, personality trait limits, which a character can have at the most 5 personal traits, and the game will randomly discard extra ones. So, you know how in past playthroughs, and I'm sure you've done many of them yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, for those who played CK2 in the past, like your character's got so many traits that it's just, okay, that's a bit too roomy, and you know how over time you lose one? Well, let's keep it at a limit at 5. Back in CK3 when I played, you may have seen that you can only have up to 3 traits. Sometimes 4, depending on circumstances and events. Also, genetic traits will be uncovered progressively in children while they age, which means when your child is born, you can't tell if the child is born attractive, or strong, or quick or a genius, or even ugly or something negative. It'll be revealed as the child grows up, over time. Unless something is obviously visible, like a club foot or a hair lip, then you would know by birth. For any of these bodily deformities. Anyways. More of this. Infamy. Infamy will be applied in some races to characters of Dark Ages. Notice the liege accrues 50% of the threat given to the vassal. Republican Virtue, which lottery awards any title as newly conquered in a merchant republic to one influential families. A player can refuse at a political price. This acts to prevent the accumulation of power in a single family. There's also shipwrecks. The frequency of shipwreck events is normal. As a reference, in assuming best conditions and most direct route, storms will rarely happen over the distance from Norway to Ireland and back. So you could say, if you're going to go on a naval expedition, like say, come across from the Baltic and invade Scandinavia, don't stay out at sea too long. You'll lose your fleet and those troops on board. So, plan at your own risk. Parent's Legacy, which, besides using the new system, with this option you'll be given a warning when a new bonus/penalties apply to children. Also, Easter celebrations for Christians, which we are not. And here's the kicker. That's the reason why I said difficult part, challenging. Due to the limits of the AI capabilities, only the player will suffer additional penalties of having appalling stats, less than 5 in any stat. Let's say if your marshal is a marshal of 4 or lower, you're going to get a bad penalty out of this, and you're just going to wish you need improvements, so you don't get easily conquered by your neighbors or whatnot, or even fight terribly in a battle, heavens forbid. And Viet events will be balanced, so it will occur. The silliest ones of break immersion for some are disabled. Choose this for the best balance between serious and lighthearted events. And now get to the parts that relate to the HIP mod. Historical digital empires, put it on simply for the sake of it. Historical outcome promotion will be passive, so it's relative sandbox, and the historical events and mechanics are disabled because habit. Because it's always sandbox, rather than try to promote things historically. Gender equality will remain the same. Specific cultures and religions may allow/disallow gender roles. No extra cast spell cooldowns. Public CV restrictions. Kingdoms and empires. This one off. Default. Liege culture conversion will be very slow. Intermediate genetic traits will also remain hidden, just to, be like that. Custom wealth transfers is for players only. And also generate histories forgotten women, which back then when I had prior practice to the HIP mod last year, that feature was not there. That was from the final update. Wives and daughters will be generated, I should say. Easy for me to say, where it is incredibly likely that someone had a wife and social daughters or absent from the game's recorded history in a way that unaffects succession. Swaying and antagonize will be allowed. And then we get to the normal rules. We left this on typically. And now the exclave independence will be significant because of habit from CK3. Circuit Conquerors on. Absurd, Supernatural on. Culture conversion, religious conversions default. Ratings, historical, adventures, matrimonial. Diplomatic range will be on. Yes, all that and more. And spouse empowerment availability. Here's one more thing relating to that mod that I. Spouse empowerment laws cannot be changed if succession laws, agnatic or anything. Laws will depend on the level of council empowerment with conclave or legalism and tolerance. And it is enabled for voting rights. It will be considered a voter on the council. But again, we're tribal, and our succession law, this screen. Baltic Tribe, so Agnatic elective, so no Agnatic yet. No Agnatic on there yet, I should say. So, spouse is not empowered. But they could still play a role, knowing the Dark Ages mod of what else they can do. Anyways, here's another thing. As you can see, holding graphics are different in each culture. Like you say, you were to look at the Greeks, and you get these old Byzantine-related buildings. City, that's right. And you look at the Italian cultures, such as Tuscan. For another different example, we'll try Rome. Latin. And over there on that side, for the Andalusians. And the Assyrian culture. That is majority in the province, but it's led by, obviously, a Levantine. Or even head as far as the Cotonese. And nomad holdings look like that. But anyways, just want to show you that briefly of the cultures. Now anyways, Sambia, our home. There's no structures here, but the neighboring ones do. Most notably, they do have a temple. Which, of course, in this graphic, it's not a temple building as much as a sacred grove. And you see these province modifiers? This is a peaceful province. This province passes by a period of placid settlement, which adds a lot more to the tax modifier and reduces the local build time, cost, and revolt risk. That's part of the Dark Ages mod. This is what we mean by provincial stability. And this one, and this is from the Medieval Trade Routes mod. This is part of the Amber Road. Which now anybody can build trade routes as long as they control it. As well as the technology to have the said trade post limit if you increase the trade practices. Fortunately, in Sambia, we do have a place to build a trade post, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. It's probably going to be decades before we get enough money and when we're content with what we've gained monetarily. And then we'll build it here for additional income, which would increase the city tax and castle tax, temple tax, and tribal tax, especially tribal tax. And technology spread rate up a bit slightly. And since this is a trade route road, so movement speed is increased slightly, and trade route income up as well. Which again, just wanted to add more to the trade experience. And speaking of trade, cartographer, something to, add on the council. You're absent-minded, so let me see the resource. I know there's none here, but look, this is part of a great trade league mod. A gold mine. There's gold up in them hills. Now I know the first place I'm going to conquer. our neighbor, Nadruvia, led by High Chief Runkim of the Nadruvians. They are sitting on a gold mine, and I want that gold mine. Forget about the ember trade, I want gold! Which, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, for those that use the Great Trade Econ, when you control an area that has the local resources like the butchery and fishery as shown on these two here, this area has a gold mine, which means whoever is the owner of it will have a lot more of the wealth. More wealth gain. More gold. But if you're a member of the Great Trade League, you get gold as a trade good to buy, or I mean to sell, or for some other use of it, or trade with, or deliver perhaps for greater income rewards. So now we know that land is going to be the first place that I need to go on a conquest to. But the problem is they have hills, and the amount of troops we have is 79, while theirs is slightly more, and could potentially increase. Unless we get some help. So now let's get down to business. Now that I've explained to you all these mods at the most, and probably will explain more as time goes on. Now, this is High Chief Kunkite, or if you want to pronounce it in a more foreign way instead of the Western way of pronouncing it like what I just did there. So I believe his name is probably pronounced Kunkite, but I can't know for certain, unless any of you Baltic viewers, particularly the Lithuanians and the Latvian viewers. I know Prussians are, unfortunately, are extinct. Not saying the German Prussians, again, I'm talking about the old Prussians. The language is being revived, the old Prussian language, but people themselves, or anybody who claims to have old Prussian ancestry, well, help me with some of the more correct pronunciations of some of the old Prussian areas, and as well as some of their names. So for now, I'm going to use a foreign accent when pronouncing names, since I have a habit of knowing Slavic languages, as well as Iranian and a few other things like the Sogdians. Now, Kunkite of the Sambians, and remember the cultural bonuses? This is the old Prussian. This is a Baltic culture, and these are the bonuses if you are of the said culture. Tax modifier up, morale of armies up, infantry and cavalry of all types, the attack and defense are up, and levy reinforcement rate up. Compare that to the neighboring Lithuanians, which they don't get as much, and the Latgalians, which not as much. So basically, the Prussians are the most warlike of the Baltic tribes. And when we look at the neighboring Wendish, they're more interested in maintenance costs reduced, opinion penalty different fate, and trade route income. Which, interestingly, if you're going to use this mod, be sure to use the culture bonuses mod if you're going to be playing as a culture that cares about trade routes. I mean, hell, look at the Sogdians over there. The last culture that I played in CK2. This is the negative one. The tax modifier and maximum attrition, you know, that's a negative. But to make up for lack of tax modifier, they just have trade route income up and global trade value and trade policy control, thus living up to their historical reputation. Now that neighboring, from across the sea, the Norse, which, befitting their attitude, they're more military intensive. Especially the levy size, which is what makes them dangerous. And should they come to Baltic land, well, be prepared to have a hard time with them. Now, Kunkite is a Brahmin, so that's tier 4. So he's more diplomatic than military. And he's also a skilled diplomat, which is tier 3. Yes, it's a separate trait, exclusive to the HIP mod. He's trusting, he's humble, he's gregarious, yes, very much diplomatic, but he's also wrathful, his only sin. So in other words, yes, he can be a very diplomatic person, but don't get it on his bad side. Right, I know what to do. only because I care about getting that gold. I will have a slight decrease on diplomacy and be more focused on martial. And I will have a crown focus here, since it's the only area I can do. Obviously voting for my only son, Rumgim, which, by the way, his name's spelled with a Y instead of an I, much like the neighbor here. So I always believe the pronunciation of that name is the same, so we call him Rumgim. Now my ambition. There's a lot to choose from. All I can say is, I want to win a war, damn it. As in, get that gold. So I want to win one. And just for that, since I'm martial intensive these days, I'm gonna go join this Baltic Warrior Lodge called the Band of Medina. Worshipped by hunters and warriors alike, Medina is a huntress goddess of the forest. Her followers wear wolf pelts in her image and hold hairs holy, as Medina is known to send the animal out to lure away the unworthy out of her domain. The warriors of Medina have one simple calling: to protect the forest, their home, and a true legacy of their ancestors. Even though I'm a man of diplomacy, but I am willing to join. It's for the sake of my children, knowing I would love to see my son be a great warrior, perhaps greater than I. Now, High Chief Jorunus. I'm going to pronounce J like you would pronounce it in Slavic languages. Because I have no zero knowledge of the Lithuanian or Baltic languages, so I'm just using, again, foreign pronunciations. High Chief Jorunus of the Deltavians, the Medina greets me with a brief nod. Another recruit, huh? To join our ranks, you need to prove yourself, boy, the man says gruffly, folding his arms across his chest. You'll be fighter of our own. Still interested, my lord? Who you calling me boy? I'm 39 years old. I ain't no boy. Comparatively, I'm older than you. Don't belittle me. But I'll gladly fight to prove myself. So I'll agree to duel whoever is at the bend of Medina chooses it for me. I know the combat skill isn't much, but give it a day, it'll jump up to 11. Who could forget my wife, Nameda, who is quite possibly the opposite of me. She's an elusive shadow. She's perceptive, which is intrigue, stewardship, and learning up. So she has excellent senses to intuition. And what luck! She's a master schemer. Leads a life of intrigue and manipulation, so I ought to be careful with my wife. She's also chaste, which we don't get much in the way of children, which, well, I don't know. She's also envious, deceitful, but also zealous. So she loves the Baltic faith, but she is very intriguing, and she could be a manipulative spouse, potentially. Anyways, I mentioned the Baltic faith. Baltic paganism is the polytheistic with a pantheon of gods led by Devas, god of the sky. The other main gods include Perkunas, god of thunder and lightning, very similar to the Germanic god Thor and the Slavic Perun. Other important deities include Sole, goddess of the sun and fertility, Daugava, and Mines. The high god is Devas, and the god names include Gabia, Perkunas, and Lima. But the evil god here is Velnia. The scripture is the legends, which is just a generic term that they use for pagan scriptures. So we cannot demand conversions. Priests, temple holders can inherit titles. Priests can marry. Religion allows women to own temple holdings, so you'll expect to see priestesses in some areas. Rulers can raid infidel neighbors for loot, which isn't surprising. Baltic counties and characters are hard to convert. Baltic men could take up 3 concubines as an option. Non-pagans with low tech have very low supply limit in Baltic counties. It can be reformed. There is no religious head. Women may hold spymaster positions, inferior at conversions, and rulers cannot declare holy wars because this is an unreformed faith. And that's the reason why I want to do this series so badly. There is one thing in Crusader Kings II I was never able to do, ever since Holy Fury, is I never done a pagan reformation series, and this is quite possibly the major goal for the Prussian series. If we will never convert to another faith, we will try to reform the Baltic faith. And to reform that, this is a different one. You can hold one holy site, not just 3, just 1. But the moral authority has to be up at least 40, and you need 2,500 piety. So at some point, when we control most of the holy sites and do any way we can to get the moral authority up, then we need a very pious character who will reform the faith one day. Won't be me, won't be my son, it'll be far in the future, should the Prussians survive. Not just the Prussians, but the Sambian Tribe as well. So yes, the Sambians. So it's been 30 minutes, 31 minutes, so I think we've covered everything there is to cover. I'm about to join the Warrior Lodge. Oh, I forgot another thing. Court physician. Zangs. The Divino. Heck of a name, by the way. Zangs. Now, Pauls, you'll be my designated regent because you're the best commander out of all of us. Right. Now, let's get this over with. Yes, sir. Just to make damn sure. That's why I stopped for a moment. Not only to be educated by me, but knowing that we'll be fighting against them in the future, I need an ally. But I see one. Not as good, but army levies are pretty sizable. I switched council members during the... And also to get more event spawn troops, if any. Well, I will go worship the ancestors. I'll make a sacrifice to my ancestors and ask for their aid regarding an important matter, such as relationships and prosperity. This can only be done every 10th year. I have decided to visit the shrine in the Holy Grove and make a sacrifice in the honor of the ancestors. What will I ask my forefathers? Well, knowing that there's gold in these hills, and I want that gold, so... Ancestors, guide my sword in battle and let me conquer my enemies. I asked my ancestors for military power and prowess in battle. Now it is time to present my offering. What will I give them in return? Ah, perfect. A slow guy. May this soul serve you well in the afterlife. I offered the ancestors the life of one of my courtiers. Before we get to the duel, there are many gods and goddesses who rule over different aspects of our life. While all of them should be honored properly, it is common for people to pick a deity whom they pray and sacrifice to more often. There are many deities I could choose to follow. The supreme ruler, our father Devas, or his ambitious brother Velnius, god of the underworld. For luck in war, pray to Perkunos, god of thunder, or Zemna, the earth goddess, blesses her faithful in fertility and good harvests. Well, since I'm becoming increasingly, interested in that, I will bring you honor on the battlefield, mighty Perkunos. Perkunos is the god of thunder. He rides the skies in his chariot, with his magical axe in hand. His eternal enemy is Velnius, the serpent, lord of the underworld, whom he protects us from. Those who are faithful to Perkunas will be given his courage and success. I hope to prove myself a worthy follower. Now, High Chief of Yorans of the Deltavians and the band of Medina has chosen Captain Gintaltis of the Lithuanian band as my opponent. The young man eyes me up and down. We were introduced. Fresh meat, huh? Offers mockingly before showing out with my son, making everyone laugh. Not as good as a fighter as I am, but also, he's delicate. It's not a trait, it's something that you cannot see. It's a condition that this character's had that's been that way since birth. It can happen in the Historical Immersion Project mod. The fight has gone on what feels like hours. The initial confidence I felt began to wane, and my movements are getting sloppy. Then, just as my knees about to give way under me, I hit him square in the jaw, causing him to stagger backwards in confusion. I walk away victorious. Not a scratch on me. Captain Galtus is wounded, and I gave him a concussion. So we were boxing. Now, the offering struggled violently when evolving, and the disciples pushed it down on the offering stone. The ancestors will surely be pleased with such a vigorous servant. Now all I can do is wait and hope. May the ancestors bestow their blessing upon me. Now, we are the Sambians, which is one of the Prussian tribes. They were located on a coastal territory rich in ember and engaged trade early on, hence the Ember Road that we're sitting on. Therefore, they established contacts with foreign nations before any other Prussian tribes. However, as all the other Prussians, they were conquered by the Teutonic Knights and exposed to assimilation and Germanization, became extinct sometime in the 17th century. To the valiant High Chief Kunkite of the Sambians, I am told you did not receive a single scratch during your initiation. That is the kind of oppressive warrior we would be honored to have sitting at our table. You are hereby invited to join our ranks. Finally. Something you should know about, ladies and gentlemen. When you join this society, the Warrior Lodge, if you win the initiation duel without a scratch, you start off at 200. If you win, but you did get wounded, you start off 100. If you lose, which most likely means you've been wounded anyhow, you start off with 0. And I know exactly what to do with that renown early on. Those 2 children of mine, gave them both a martial education, and they need to join that warrior lodge too. My son is to be a great warrior, and my daughter is to become a shield maiden in the future, to protect the Sambian tribe from any danger. Or be a shield maiden to somebody else when we marry her off to have an alliance with somebody. Now, Rudkim. Rudkim's my son. I can ask him to go through the initiation rite in order to join the band of Medina. It's 50 renown. Now, Yorusha, you too. Like it or not. We'll hear from them in a moment. My very young daughter smiles broadly at my encouragement. I thought you would never ask. I'll contact the High Chief right away, Father. I was waiting for you to be ready. Plus, you're tall. Another trait related to this mod. There's a difference between a giant and tall, so this is tall. And yes, there is the short trait too, which is different from the dwarf trait. They're separate. So, character's heights ranges from dwarf to short to normal to tall to giant. There you have it. You get the idea. My son isn't tall, but she is. She came with that during the start of this series. And of course, Rune Kim will be going too. Hope they do well. We'll hear from them in a couple of days. And I'm sure we'll hear from the ancestors as well. Are you in, or are you out? My very young daughters joined the dinner tonight, and not stop talking about initiation. It was exhilarating, Father. I am one of the band of Mendina. Knew it had it in you. Look at you, you won, just like me. Not a scratch on you. Perhaps you will be a shield maiden in the future. So she's in. Now, what of my son? You lost that one. But do not worry. All you had was a swollen ankle, but they let you in. To be fair, her height may have played a difference during her initiation to whomever she fought against, and Kim didn't do so well, despite the fact that he started off as shrewd and ambitious. So I'm sure he'll get better in the future. He will be a great warrior one day, and his sister will be a good shield maiden, if money allows, because it costs you 50 gold to make her become a shield maiden, which is basically giving her all the equipment and whatnot. Now, anyways, I want to read another fact about the Sambians compared to the other Prussian tribes. Engaged in the amber trade, Sambia was the richest and most densely populated region of Prussia. May not look like it right now. It provides a wealth of artifacts from the Bronze Age, including imported goods from the Roman Empire. Sambians, unlike other Prussians, did not cremate their dead. They built earth barrels above graves and surrounded them with stone circles. Okay, now, I've invited people in my court to take part in a war game, which we practice defending our land from invading enemies. We will use wooden models to represent invading armies. I shall have to use clever tactics to defeat my opponent. This will be fun. We assigned tasks for this war game. Decide that Glupas will defend with me, while Zangs will be leading the invading forces. Let the best warlords win. Oh, great. My diviner's taking part of the board game. You know, he knows nothing about this. After beginning the war game, the enemy decides to do a strong frontal assault towards my center flank. Well, I'll use all means to reinforce and strengthen the center. The war game gets intense as you use your force to reinforce the center, while Zhang's troops begins to pressure my flanks, and they're falling fast. Glupas suggested we should respond with pressure in the center flank. I'm not sure about this. Pressure in the center flank, but we would be routed. I'm not sure. Not gonna like this suggestion, but let's use cavalry to press the side flanks. Maybe. If he suggested this, well, I'll take your suggestion then. It's probably a bad move. As we launch our attack, we manage to break the opponent's center, giving us the opportunity to subdue their split forces with ease. We stand uncontested as victors of the war game. My conscience is clear. Good game. I'm a student of strategy. And I gained 75 prestige. Alright. A couple of more to 200. And we will declare that conquest against the Nadruvians. I see that you are a fellow member of the band of Medina too. I'd like to be betrothed to my son. Yes. Political concerns up. Ah, something must be going on in this region. So we'll have the non-aggression pact. And soon we will negotiate an alliance with them. Because we need all the help we can get. We'll form an alliance with them, even though they do things differently in the Dark Ages mod. Which is, again, trying to be more realistic and challenging, as we mentioned before. Now, one more historical fact. The name of the clan was first mentioned in 1073 by Adam of Bremen, who calls them most humane people. Warfare with Danes, this is the Sambians. They fought against the Danes, which continued from mid-9th century to the beginning of the 13th century. It is known that there was a Viking settlement in Sambia that flourished for about 300 years. Swedes maintained a more peaceful relations and fostered trade. Now it's time for the fighting. High Chiefess Darate calls my name from the other side of the dining hall, standing on one of the long tables, challenging me to a fighting. Darate decides to try and tease me, claiming that my virility is legendary, if only among dwarfs. Who are you? You're the High Chiefess and the Diviner of the Lotgolian Tribe. Damn! She's too nice. I am not sure. Well, we know who her parents were. Well, I'll just say whatever, right? Since she's a nice person, I'm just gonna say this. So, how is that wretched harpy that spawned you, Darate? I'll lose a bit of piety while insulting her family. We spar with words for a while, but soon Darate's face grows red with embarrassment, surrounded by the laughter of the other warriors. Unable to put together a coherent response, my opponents clearly lost the fighting. I'll listen to you, Diviner. I need a renown for reasons. Stop being such a child. She might challenge me to a duel for insulting her, which I don't think that'd be a good idea, taking me on. Perhaps I shouldn't treat her so poorly. Right after the game, she swore revenge for humiliation, stormed off the main hall amongst the laughter of the warriors. Can the woman not take a joke? Now she's my rival. Told you, I'm a hot-headed man. Don't insult my intelligence in the realm of diplomacy. How much is for the trade post here? My son Runkim gained a novice diplomat trait. Well, whatever helps him with his diplomacy. Sambia has now also become a serene province. To build a trade post, you need 41 gold, which sounds generous, but Stop. Here's another way to get prestige. It's time to hold the Uzgavenes Festival. The Uzgavenes Festival takes place in the spring to celebrate the end of winter and the coming of summer. It'll cost you 1.2 gold. Invitations have gone out to my vassals asking them to join me in this spring's Uzgavenes Festival. I've decided to make the festival this year a special one. Be remembered by both spirits and men for many years to come. Let us begin preparations. Marshal Glufus told me about his ideas. I couldn't really understand what he's talking about, but he was adamant in his belief that this would improve the military. Yeah, 1 gold it is. It's just spread rate. It's not gonna improve it. It's for the surrounding areas. As long as we keep getting them on our side. And I'd be happy with that. My vassals have arrived. By my vassal, I mean the mayor of Kranskotren. Which, by the way, they still use Germanized names of the area. That's the reason why it says reigning in Königsberg, modern-day Kaliningrad, Russia. Yes, my vassals have arrived, and the time of the Uzgan festival is upon us. A large effigy representing winter is burned, and a symbolic fight is staged between Laginenus, the winter spirit, and Canopinus. Pinus. Pinus. How do you say that? Any of you viewers, help me. The spirit personifying spring to everyone's side, Canopinus, emerges victorious as always. Take that, Laginenus. It looks like spring shall come this year. Even though by all accounts it looks like it's already here. One would think. Drink. As the winter effigy continues to burn outside, hastening the coming of summer, me and my vassals gather at the great feast, and my servants have prepared. Let us drink together. The mayor will like me more for about a year, and we'll move inside the large feast hall. I guess nobody's acting, inappropriate or anything silly during this feast, since we only have a mayor. If we ever expand, we'll be having more vassals, like more mayors or whoever is the priest or priestess of the areas, of the temple holders, and whatnot. There's nothing we could change, and if you were to change the law, you'd have to spend your prestige big time. The effigy's been finished burning, the spirit of Laginus has been defeated, and the feast has come to an end. The vassals are returning home. Most seem to agree that the Uzgan festival is well worth the trip. Till next time, 100 piety, 100 prestige. Do that every once in a while. So we have enough to start a county conquest against them. But here's one problem. They may look like they're slightly stronger than us, but it all depends on the skill of the commanders, compared to theirs. But we're waiting for raiders or warriors to be raised, and then once they're raised, we can attack. But alternatively, we will also go for to form an alliance with him, which, we haven't really tried to improve relations or sway him that much, so. And plus, his lack of diplomacy is rather disturbing, but still, he's just and kind and content. I think he's more than likely to accept. I mean, after all, he's Vilnius, which, oddly enough, he's named after the Lord of the Underworld. So we are negotiating an alliance with the alleged Lord of the Underworld, even though traits-wise he's a pretty nice guy, but he's deceitful. That does not befit the reputation. Alright, we can negotiate alliance with this character. The success of the action depends partly on the opinion of Vilnius of Samagetia, which his opinion, it's 16, so it's up a bit. My diplomacy, plus a native, which, and gregarious, yes, very positive. There are many others modifiers at work, but you'll be presented with a menu. You can pick the strategy you want to pursue during the negotiations, and with further information on factors that influence the final outcome. So, you have to spend a bit of money, so you can set up the meeting. So here's the summary. The days arrived for the diplomatic meeting with High Chief Vilnius of Samagetia and his entourage. After the necessary pleasantries, we sat down and start the summit. I was informed by my spies that the interlocutors particularly susceptible to a nice and pleasant approach. Ah, well done. Which, again, it's due to the skills of the spy master as well as the state intrigue. At least I'm married to this high chiefess of mine who is manipulative. He hasn't manipulated me or the children yet. But you may never know. One would think that this is kind of similar to the story with Macedon. Sambia is like Macedon, in a way, because this ruler is like Philip II. He's become more increasingly militaristic, but he's got diplomacy, but don't get on his bad side. He's got a manipulative spouse, even though it's a tumultuous, stormy marriage, much like Philip and Olympias. And we got an ambitious son of his, which could be the Prussian Alexander. Anyways, so they're susceptible to the nice and pleasant approach. Well, that's exactly what I was going to go for. Because there's no need to showcase military prowess and might, or clean a business, or deceive. No, no, no. I'm the man of diplomacy here. I'm the diplomat here. So this option has a slightly disadvantageous basis chance of success. If you pick it concerning the details, it is what influences the result of the meeting. No alliances of diplomacy, education, diplomacy stat, yes. Gregarious, yes. I think it don't have socializer, neither kind nor cheerful or silver tongue. Subsidy reported my spies, that's another plus. Dower would be reduced, which I don't have it. Concerning my, to look at it, the factors are from them. Opinion of me, which is a little bit. He's a kind man, I believe, yes. The distance between realms for both characters, which isn't that far off. The difference between interior of both characters were both high chiefs. Also impact the result. Long distance will produce a negative effect. Short distance, positive one. Also, if a character is of a higher tier than the Interdokada, there's a bonus. While the contrary grants a penalty. Finally, the bigger the number of alliances, the more conflicts of interest they will have, thus creating another penalty for success. So, I have a chance of getting a moderate success bonus thanks to the work of my spies. It is influenced by our realm espionage stat. Pay attention to the event description to check in what the bonus applies, which we can see then. And it's all thanks to my wife and my spy master. So we will adopt a friendly and intimate attitude. We hope the negotiations go well from this summit between the two. We may be different culturally and logistically, but and I'm about to sway him during this again, this is a sway event, so I'm like, well, let's get an even higher opinion on him. With my illustrious educational affairs of state and diplomacy, I should have no trouble finding the right way to endear myself to the High Chief Vilnius. I will send an envoy to this realm, thanks to my high diplomacy skill. Send a diplomatic envoy to his home, hoping that my diplomats will be able to sway him to my cause. So, what do you say? What say you? Just expected, my diplomats were able to convince Vilnius what an honorable and trustworthy ruler I am. A man that is well worth his respect. There we go. He's been swayed and more. We shall hear the final result of the summit very, very soon. And then we'll wait for our troops to be raised, and then we will raid Nadruvia and then conquest war. Here's another strategy. Raid your neighbors to soften them up, weaken their defenses. Then you come in and attack. That's going to be our strategy, our main go-to strategy at this time. My steward, Mons, tells me that his efforts of praising my name and deeds have met with great success. A small army of warriors converged at Sambian Tribe, ready to serve me. I just need to make sure they have someone to fight within a year, lest they become troublesome. Splendid! Look at this. We had 100 something. Now our number has doubled. More than doubled, in fact, tripled. They're ready to fight at any given time. So now we have 700. Well, they have 200. But we're waiting for the summit to end because it seems it's taken all summer. They even come up with negotiations. Listen, Mr. Lord of the Underworld, allegedly, we are going to be friends, like it or not. And you may help me on some of the issues, and we may help you back. May. Keyword may. And I hope my Chancellor just improves relations with it and don't sabotage it. As soon as the alliance is made, that's when we shall strike against Runkim. And then after that... Really? Diplomatic negotiations with our chief on this It went very poorly and the overall move went sour. In the end, no agreement could be reached and we parted ways quite upset. Not the result I had in mind. I'm a failed negotiator. So we lose prestige together. So we don't look at each other highly, but this effect will last for 5 years, which the vassal opinion towards me would just be slightly lowered. So, oh well. We got our troops. We could do it without you. What happened to him? Combat intensive training. Get together. Unit is allowed to raid. Oh yeah, they're warriors, not raiders. I mean, you can't turn them into raiders. I guess we're just gonna have to go in. We can definitely take these areas, but we can't know for certain. So remember, it's the gold that we desire. When we conquer this chiefdom, I control it directly, and the gold mine over there, the money's gonna go to me, and we prosper, and we can build structures, defenses, markets, all the kinds. So, let's start. And if we're to need more prestige, don't forget to fight tributary wars. Looking at you up there. You may be big and intimidating, but it's because you got all the good structures. But if there's another place to conquer, well, it'll likely be there because it's far weaker. So as we said before, let's start. I'll take the center. Naples will be there. Oddly enough, you chose to be followers Zemna instead of Perkunas, even though you're the best one out of all of us, but you are a better fighter. And you're the eldest of the generals. And I guess the mayor can come too, because he's tall, but he's absent-minded. I wish my son was leading the battle with me. You know, this would have been his first battle. Instead, we're going in, pick him off. Though we'll face stubborn resistance, because we're not only going to be taking a river crossing penalty, but they also have the hills. But we have the numbers. We have the skills. Unfortunately, we won't be able to take the temple, but we'll just try to take the tribal holding. He's not leading his troops. So if we take this tribal holding, there is a chance that you may capture him. So be wary. As you can see, the unit model, they have pikemen. 45 of them. 120 light infantry, 25 heavy infantry they have. That's 765 archers. We have mostly light infantry, some heavy and some archers. The mostly light troops is from the spawned warriors. I was hoping CK2 would be helpful, but no, instead, we're doing this alone. We could have just waited for attack, but we already feeding their flank. Kunkite, you villainous brute! The shell carries over the hill, swarm, fighting a close battle alongside a personal guard. In the distance, I see enemy reinforcements coming away. Listen, instead of beginning, my soldiers. You know what we have that they don't? Each other. Inspiring leader. My daughter became dull. Can't say that I blame her. Because not all of us tribal have access to, you know, higher education or anything like that. So they're on a retreat. You cowards! They're in hiding. We will get them out of their hiding places if we capture this area. But remind yourself, we cannot capture this temple because there's not enough of us to take on this garrison and levy stationed in this temple. But if we can get spawned raiders, it'll be good. They just created their first retinue. What's going on the other side of Scandinavia? They're fighting each other. That'll keep them busy. Stay away from Baltic land. We'll soon be back up to 200. Everybody's getting their own retinues. If I ever become the warrior, I would like to sail and get a summon launch commander, because yeah, we don't have all the best ones in the world. And once we successfully take this area, we're not going to capture the temple unless we win another decisive battle with them. Winter is coming, men. But we're all used to it. Damn. Bandits raided the siege camps. There's already snow in Sambia, but not in Nordruvia yet, interestingly enough. See, we cannot take this area. We have to win another. This is why we want an alliance with you, and yet you refused. Let's finish them off. Now they're on retreat. Again, it's any time now, much like how it did for the Warriors Race. And this has a 28 yearly compared to, you know, the other. So that one's going to slightly take long. I mean, if the Raiders can come in, then that would just bolster the numbers of the levies. Unless we want to get Zealots out, which why on earth we want to do that, because we're not fighting a holy war against anyone right now. It's pretty much textbook at this point. Young Rune Kim has finished his education in the ways of war. I notice with pride he has attained nothing less than a masterful level of knowledge. Alright, brilliant strategist. I told you he's going to be a great warrior one day. But look at my son here, Rune Kim. He picked up brawny and brave, in addition to shrewd and ambitious. I mean, once he gets better from his wounds, he will be a good fighter. More than good. Not as good as some of as Commander Napos, the elder commander. Which, in fact, once you get better from the wounds, I'm sure that will provide you with weapons and armor in the future. Which reminds me, but after the war, alright? Finish this damn battle. I am not sure that athleticism runs in my family, but it never hurts to try, though. My subjects have raised some curious eyebrows when they spotted me lifting barrels and rocks for fun and exercise. I just felt inspired. I love to see my grandfather do one-handed push-ups like these. Now I'm brawny too, just like my son. Now, how on earth are we gonna get this area while they're in hiding? You can't tell them at that pace. We did not fully conquer the area. Tell me we have to start looking for other friends. Any small number will do, but you need, let me see, 853. Another 100 will be good. Hey. Remember, if you try to make another alliance, you know, it's going to cost you. You tried and failed. Do it. See if we can get zealots. If not, we can organize a raid. What, Rune Kim can make it go faster for the appearance. So, temporarily, you're going to be the marshal, not the commander yet. Also, he's picked up Trickster. Forgot to point that out. So his character's known to be unpredictable on the battlefield. The enemy won't see it coming, and neither will I. So it's plus 10 experimentality. Can use deceitful and flexible combat tactic levels. That's good to know. What's going on with Lithuania? 1, there's a peasant revolt. And 2, another peasant revolt. So there's 2 peasant revolts. Hail, fledgling. Rumors that there are great spoils waiting behind the walls of the Warmia tribe, waiting to be conquered by any daring raider with enough grit and ambition. I assume I need nothing more. Loot our next door neighbor. So we have to sit there and be reinforced bit by bit until we get event spawn troops. There's no way we can make an alliance with anyone else at this point. I've noticed that all the focus on physical activity might be dimming his mind. My son is ignoring many of his other studies and responsibilities to better refine his combat skills. Openly belittling their importance because they are out of war. Unfortunately, he'd lose his Shrewd, but he's gained a bit of health. He's still got a good mind, except for learning. So if he were to be ruler, he will have a learning penalty, which can be nullified. But still, he's got very good martial. And we should have a raid organized at any time. Serious lack of harmony. That's either due to your high chiefess or just not accepting that alliance from earlier. Speed things up now. It's been a very nice experience bringing Dark Ages together over the years with a considerable amount of time involved. Recently I decided to set up a PayPal donation page for the kind souls who want to buy me comfort. If you feel like that, just click on the donate link on top of the description in the Dark Ages Steam page, or press the donate button in the Dark Ages thread in Paradox Forum. Thank you for the free coffee. I don't want to be intrusive at all, so if you don't change characters and continue playing with the same dynasty, this message will happen twice per game. You get our 75 game years from now. You get a message 75 game years from now. After you take your time playing Dark Ages some more. Independently of your decision, it is a pleasure for me that you picked Dark Ages to play with. Thank you. That's the message from the guy who made the Dark Ages mod that we are using. Not pilot on me. Has told me this concern about my daughter, claiming that the child lacks the grit and bravery of the true member of the Band of Mendina. Napoli thinks that forcing my daughter to confront her fears is the best way to overcome them. You sure about this? She could die, you know, but she could become brave or most likely be wounded. And she's dull, so it's likely she'll die. But I would have the renown penalty. Well, I trust your judgment. Why did I have a feeling that was coming? I was killed by a wild beast. She was just a child, damn it! Going through the treasury to account for today's earnings, it seems to me that the coffers seem to contain less than what we started with today. Either someone's stealing my gold, or I must be going mad. When I catch that little rat, who would steal my money? Or just, no. Because I need that prestige for the upcoming victory. And you are intervening with Lithuania. Livonian conquest. You're allied with Lithuania, right? Yes. Hey. Too bad we can't join your war. Unless we have an alliance with them. Four soldiers a month. What's going on over there? Subjugation war. And Mazavia wants Sambia. So who's sieging it? Homicides. Okay, they got there first. I guess there is another ambitious Prussian out there. So again, we're either waiting for raiders or zealots for additional reinforcing to take that temple. Because we can't take it. We could have taken it had they accepted our offer, but the summit went. Yeah. What else? So now things are starting to get a bit, you know, heavy again. Heavy snow. It's one of my lesser commanders, so yeah, I guess. Wish I could teach my son about inspiration. That's something he could use. I've noticed that since the joining the band of Medina. My son has been avoiding his responsibilities as a courtier to focus entirely on martial arts. If he keeps going like this, he'll soon be unfit to even administer a pig farm. He'll be alright. War is more important. Up martial a bit, increasing the chance slightly. Why don't you surrender? And why don't you come out of hiding? What the hell's going on up there? Let me see. Oh, it's from that conflict zone. Right, this attempted conquest by the Mazovians of this area has banded up all the Baltic states to fight against them. Well, it looks like the, let me see. Palestinians are still in the lead. If they want to subjugate. While they will beat back the, hey, it's a bit complex out here. That's due to the subjugation one, that's why. Hey! Spartan Adruvian. That's my land. You can't have that. I don't have. We can't take the lead. Take the lead in this siege, unless they're drawn out of there. So I'm not the leader of the siege. It's his. Should have just stayed there. Should have. Should have. That means this area will be fully occupied, but it's not going to go to me. We're going to divide the land. Partition it. One would think. But who's going to be the owner of the county? Should have not left that post. So who wins? Oh, actually, who gets to call the peace? It'll be me. Watch. This territory is mine, not yours. I was here first. I win, you lose. I was thinking about declaring war on him next, but I don't think that'll be wise. Because he's a formidable opponent for this time. And if we were to fight right here, right now, They could easily overwhelm us. I see that you've already ranked up. He's a warrior compared to me, a fledgling. He's advancing fast. He's under scars, you can see here. If we want to keep the defense spawn troops up, all you have to do is lower it and fight a tributary war against a weaker enemy. Because a tribute would be for a prestige gain. And the man is craven, so there is a small chance that he could just put his arms up and just say, no, no, we don't want to fight, and all that. Fortunately, we can't take that temple either. But you get the idea. So yes, I win a war. That ups my martial skill a bit. All I want to do is to make a friend. Ah. So he will. Again, we can take this area, but we won't take the temple. We'll have that same issue again. So he'll pay tribute to us. So stop it right now. That means we can call them in our wars to help us out with whatever situation that we may get involved in. Such as these Bartians, which we can fight them right here, right now. Remember, it's tributes that I want. And eventually raid Warmia. Because that's the objective, is to loot it. While this complex situation continues between the two. And there's about 89 retinue here, which we can defeat them here. This is just to win us prestige, because we just can't get them immediately. And we're fighting them immediately. And help us out. Because we need you to, you know, help take this temple here. As it's currently, there's storms here. And this coastal flooding. Which Sambia was also experiencing coastal flooding. Yes, weather effects. No. Look at the coward beg and plead. There will be no peace for him that easily. They will face the Sambians' wrath. So we're gonna take it up to the hills and cross that river. But again, this man is superior. He is a member of the band of Medina, but I'm not afraid. We've come here to get prestige. We got enough of it to make another county conquest war. But unsure about taking on Womia. Because, well, remember the objective, you have to raid it, but we can't really raid the area as of yet. We don't have raiders that are dedicated to this sort of thing. What was that? Oh, now I've become a respected commander. This character is a respected military command veteran. Does that make my other commanders, like Napals, respected yet? Well, that man who was also there, and that mayor, who is now also the respected commander as well. Now we can take these areas together. Man's gone into hiding. He's in there. Siege will be much easier because of their botched attempt. My son's been avoiding responsibilities here to focus entirely on martial arts, so... Oh, this again. As I say to you, war is more important. And if he were to be a ruler, he's going to have penalty and stewardship as well, which can be improved upon with time. Baltic tribes fallen before me, and my troops have collected everyone found within. Now I must decide the fate of the unfortunate. Capture the air and we would win. So take everyone we found prisoner. There it is. Either won that one, so everything will go down peacefully very soon. But again, we're not taking part here. This is just to make them pay tribute to us, to say, we Sambians are the superior Prussian clan. Well, we subsequently took the area where the gold is. If it's still there, is it? Yes, the gold mine is still there. Which means we will earn money from it. And very soon we will raid here. Because there's money in there as well. And after the raid, then we conquer that land. And a county conquest. One would think we can manage, but we made the right choice here. So they'll regret taking on the Prussians. Don't you know we're the most warlike people of the Baltic? Oh dear. Too bad we can't help them. They're not of our culture, that's why we did not join them. What happened? Happened during the war, so he was captured. I told you should have taken up our offer. Don't make me conquer you one day, because we should work our way to these areas. My studies and training have taught me the general tactics of flanks and center, but I can hardly master everything. If the center cannot hold, the battle is over, because I like to be in the center. Yeah, it would not be enough to raid them all. you're looking at here. Yeah, we would be outnumbered. Or we can hold one more to the main. Maybe we should just forget about looting and just conquer the damn thing. Just go. Don't fight one more battle. Just wait till we arrive inland. Then that's when we'll end this war and start another one immediately. So you now pay tribute to us. And Vormir will be mine. So forget about this mission. We want those lands immediately. So, probably go for Majesty since we have issues with piety and prestige gain. To your usual positions. And I guess the mayor can come too, even though he can be absent-minded sometimes, but he's a respected commander just like me. Still for military organization. Everybody's getting levies these days. We don't have any yet. But I think we should. Go for weaponsmith first, since we often have trouble with reinforcement rate. I guess we're going in. Have to stop them first. We'll take over. Duel for honor while that man's in prison. After the war, okay? Things are going well. When I suddenly hear the embarrassed help from nearby, spinning my bare hands ready. I'm fighting with fists? What the heck? I see the enemy commander Gaurundas awkwardly attempting to climb a fallen tree. I think he's trying to escape the battle, my lord, and the soldier next to me muses. Oh, good, he's craven. You see, I don't need a sword, I don't need an axe, I don't need a spear. All I got is martial arts. Boxing. Shall duel him. Wait, I yield. Let's cross up my axe, or so it says. Hi. I slow the deadly blow about to come down here. What it would have said is I'm about to, chop him down with my hand. About to give him a chop to the top of the head, one would think. I slow the deadly blow about to come down, man. The man scrambles backwards, almost trips himself. I'll be your prisoner. Spare my life, he whimpers. Well, you're a fellow member of the Band of Mendi now. Why would I do a sacrifice against you? You'll be in prison. You might be put into our service in the future. We might recruit you. President Nadrovia complained about the conditions brought by the present state of war. As I need to keep the big picture in consideration, they talk about the suffering in their community and disclose both the restlessness and about the present situation as well as the concerns about the future. There's a local cost in Nadrovia to the present war, so it's no longer a serene province, now it's reduced to a peaceful province. There's only one holding here, fortunately. But we will not get the riches that it says by looting it. We just don't have the manpower for it. And after that we shall conquer no more. It is a fine day you are out hunting with a small party. As I take a break and eat my midday meal, I find myself in discussion on archery with Clovis. Turns out he's also a devout follower of Perkunas. The longer I talk, the more it seems to have in common. We should talk more. I was looking for a friend. Young man? Sure. Oh, people would look at me more highly. Increase size of domain to have at least 3. I'm about to conquer this area, so I'll get that too. Just in time. Thanks to the gold mine. That's what caused the big jump on the gold numbers we have. Alright, High Chief. Gotta put you in irons. And just for that, I gotta... It's not enough for the ransom. Very well. The land is mine. The size of the domain is increased. We have no more event spawn troops for the time being. So we'll wrap up this episode soon. It's been a good first 3 years. What is my ambition? I guess I'll see the realm prosper. Because we're going to live in a period of peace for the time being. At least for now, see if we can hold on for that. Barislaus asked for an honor to me. My lord, a vision from of Gabia came to me and commanded I build a temple in Sambia. I will need your help, however, I'm certain to complete this grand project on my own. Just got this money, and so I was thinking about using this money for... you know what? Take this and my blessing. So this is to help with the temple construction, which it can be potentially be built here. This will turn into a temple if you have the funds to make it happen, but I can't guarantee that unless you get loans. Fortunately, there's a heat wave this summer, despite the fact it's pretty peaceful here. So there's a new temple construction. So people of the province are working to build a new temple. A process that could take anywhere up to 20 years to complete. As I said, not sure. Respect the commander now. You're not worried, son. Once we get those raiders up, then we'll start raiding our neighbors. Particularly this one. Weaken the enemy. So for now, let's just celebrate at the fact that this is pretty much a well-done episode so far in this series. But one thing I'm kind of concerned about is who is the owner of the Axe of Perkunas? And judging by the religion, it's probably you. Who are you? Just a courtier. And you happen to have the Axe of Perkunas. So in this next episode, I'm gonna get that man over here. By any means. Invite, kidnapping, anything. Because I don't want this axe. I want the axe to come to Sambia, and it'll be given to my son. He is the chosen one to lead the Sambians. He's the only heir of the Sambian Tribe. Because since he's a better warrior than I, and I believe he deserves this axe. And we'll see what we can do to get this said axe. and the future of the Sambian Tribe and the Prussian people. So we hope you join us in this next episode. It's been a good first episode of introductory, as well as the first few wars, as well as making those to pay tribute to the Sambian Tribe, which is now the superior Prussian tribe, clan, whatnot. It may not look like it right now, but they have it to protect us. So we hope you join us in the next episode. Until then, so long for now.